But the army, knowing that there were already some lawyers, when the case was about to reach 25 years, they were already moving the process. Because we knew about some documents whose content would bring more information, would bring more clarity to the reality of the Varginha case. What did the army do? When they found out the lawyers were already working on it, they pulled some strings, went there to find a loophole in the law. There's a paragraph there, an article, a paragraph that allows them to reclassify the material for the same number of years as the previous classification. If it was top secret, it was 25 years. They can reclassify the same material for another 25 years, keeping it away from the public eye for 50 years. And that's what was done. The army took all the Varginha documents and reclassified them. It's locked away until 2046. Now, one thing that's strange and makes us wonder, if the Varginha case wasn't true, why reclassify it until 2046? And another thing, the army said it was a mute guy, that it was a young man there with mental problems, that there was another soldier involved. Major Koza said it was a couple of dwarfs who were mistaken by people. I even looked for the couple of dwarfs in the city, and to this day I haven't found them. But where am I trying to get with this? If that were really the case, the army wouldn't have to reclassify it for another 25 years, keeping the material out of our sight until 2046.
It's really strange, isn't it?
So that's something to think about. If it wasn't true, if it was a mistake, why do that with this material? It's because something really happened.
In the Varginha case, many people saw it.
So today we have 150 witnesses, including civilians and military personnel, who were directly and indirectly involved in this case. I even wrote a book, The ETs of Varginha, putting the puzzle together. In this book, we clarify and give a lot of important details about this, including naming some of the witnesses who allowed us to do so. It's because not everyone wants to expose themselves. Sometimes because they're in the military and have signed a confidentiality agreement, so they won't expose themselves. Sometimes because they've suffered some kind of retaliation or intimidation from their military superiors. So obviously that group isn't going to show up so easily. Unless the entire classification period has passed, I know, and many of them, what happens in 50 years, maybe they've even passed away, right? So we'll end up not knowing. They go to the grave and they'll take those little pieces of the puzzle to the grave. The big truth is that just like the Varginha case, it has many pieces of the puzzle that still haven't been revealed. I'm writing volume 2 now, right? I wrote volume 1, which is the Varginha case, putting the puzzle together, and now I'm writing volume 2. I probably won't be able to close the case unless a video shows up or something explosive appears, and you already have pretty much how long?
Varginha, as soon as people saw things.
There in the city. It started on January 13, 1996. And I know there were unidentified flying object sightings in the region until June 28, 1996. Beings continued to appear until then, but not until July or July 4th.
Like about 5.
6 months appearing there in the region, both ships and beings. And then there was that little brown being with red eyes, with a little bump on its head. There were also some hairy ones with red eyes and a little bump. And there were the gray ones, which were the grays, right? But these grays, I never had any information that they were captured. The ones that were captured were the little brown ones and the hairy ones. Only one military officer told me that 6 creatures were taken to the United States, some alive and others dead. Along with the craft as well, which was shot down at that time and crashed in the rural area of Eloy Mendes.
Wow, huh? 150 people he reported.
Notice their direct and indirect involvement. Sometimes it's a nurse who saw the creature, who saw it, a civilian who saw the movement of the trucks. It's a soldier who is. He took part in removing the body of an extraterrestrial from Mantidas Hospital, for example, to take it to Army Health School, to the Army Health School. Another one took part in transporting this creature to Unicamp. 3 creatures were delivered to Unicamp for Badam Palhares. There was another creature that we are learning about now, which was autopsied at Army General Hospital, which is the Army General Hospital in Juiz de Fora, by a very important medical lieutenant at the time. So there are many details that you start putting together this puzzle, and it gives you the certainty that the case is real. Even though there are people out there who speak against it, right? Who say that Varginha doesn't exist. It was nonsense and all that, I don't know what, but sometimes people haven't even done any research. They haven't even been there to really know in the end what was happening. I've been involved since 1996, and I keep researching to this day, and I'll continue as long as I'm alive. Speaking publicly that the case is real, I have this conviction that the case is real. Why? Because I talked to military personnel, because I met top-level people who were with the creatures, who saw the creatures. So we know a lot about this case, and you can't cover the sun with a sieve. Sooner or later, this will come to light, right? And I think we're very close to all of this coming to an end, right? To being clarified. And the people who denied it will have to tuck their tails between their legs and walk away whining.
Of all the cases in Brazil, is the Varginha case the most impressive to you, or does another stand out more?
No. The most impressive case is the Cláudio case, which also happened in a city in Minas Gerais. The Cláudio case, what happened there was the appearance of spacecraft and beings. These spacecraft actually landed and beings appeared. And the military police carried out 13 operations to try to make contact, to try to intimidate these beings. Did they try anyway to get close? And in these operations that took place, there were photographs taken, for example, by Corporal Rabelot. Those luminous beings that appeared there, which looked more like a hologram, were also filmed in some situations. They couldn't take pictures, also for some reason that we don't understand. And according to the reports I obtained in December 2015, when reading those 5 pages in there, there are some interesting indications that some of those military police officers from Cláudio may have been abducted and taken aboard the unidentified flying object. Today, we've already done much more in-depth research on this with civilian witnesses, with military personnel. I've already talked to 5 military personnel involved in this matter. There are official documents, something that the Varginha case doesn't have. That's why the Cláudio case is so important, because it's based on documents that were released. Of course, there are other documents they didn't release. I officially requested these additional documents. There were many, and they didn't release them to me. They said they don't exist, they don't know, they disappeared. What I know is that the Americans are already involved in this Cláudio situation too, and that Flavio Ruberti, the Air Force, also showed up there interviewing everyone. Some of the military police officers I talked to said they filled out reports that were 14, 19 pages long. They had to make drawings, a bunch of things, and for each thing, if they saw a craft, they made a report. If they saw beings, it was another type of report. And all of that was taken and confiscated by the Air Force. I even heard about a craft there, about a sound, and I'm trying to get that sound too from the Cláudio case. But let me, just so it's not just words, also so you can be sure, this here is the police report that was released. Then they talk about chasing 2 luminous beings in the city's sugarcane field and so on. So there's this whole thing, like I told you, there was a landing. This one here, for example, these are landings that happened at the time. We were there investigating some landings here. These are some current witnesses. Why? What happened here is what we saw. These are people who saw it. These ones here. They were probably abducted now in 2024 because the case happened in 2008. But the beings came back to the city of Cláudio in 2024 in August and September. So Mr. Sabia, who is this old man? He saw it on 2 consecutive days, on August 31st and on September 1st. And these 2 guys here saw it on September 5th, what they saw there. So many luminous objects. This one is the corporal, right? Who photographed the luminous objects and the beings at the time. This is illustrative. It's a photo that was taken in Rio of these beings, which was taken by someone else. This one isn't by Cláudio, okay, but I'm just bringing it to illustrate because it gives us an idea that the beings looked like this, right? They were luminous. Now, when the soldiers were taken inside the ship, once inside, they could already see those grays, right? Which were gray with black eyes. So what possibly happened when they saw those luminous beings? They were seeing there like a projection, a hologram, something like that. Since I don't have a proper name for this type, so I call it a hologram, a luminous being that looks like a ghost, right? But was it the projection of the beings, you?